5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, this week we're going to get a little bit heavy. I actually did some real reading this week instead of just listening. I read Brian Tome's book, 5 Marks of a Man. It's a great one, and it's a short and quick one. Brian, if you've never heard of him, he is the lead pastor at Crossroads Church in Oakley, and they have now several different campuses. When he wrote this book in, I don't know when. My mom gave it to me when I was going to college. Oh, okay. Never mind. Copyright 2016. So it's not as old as I was thinking it was. But they had, I think the church had 20,000 members at that time. So who knows how many they have 4 years later. But they have several different campuses, including Clifton and the east side. There's one on the west side. They're kind of all over at this point. But this is a church that basically he started. And the thing I really love about Crossroads is that they're really down to earth. They're a non-denominational church. And he says in this book, there you go, 80,000 people now attend Crossroads. Oh, wait. That's how many will attend their Christmas thing.
Well, shit, if there's 80,000 people that's going to attend the Christmas thing, then...
Yeah. Well, yeah, which their Christmas play is outstanding. It's like a top-of-the-line, like Hollywood-style play. They go to the extremes on all of their graphics, all of their music. Everything is, like, high-end. But this book, 5 Marks of a Man, the simple code that separates men from boys. It's a quick and easy one. You can read it in a day. None of the language is, difficult to process. It just hits you quick. So he describes in the intro that there are 15-year-old men and there are 45-year-old boys. And as a society, we've kind of created like this really long period in a boy's life where you have to kind of figure out if you're a boy or a man. Where in previous generations you either hit an age or you had some sort of ceremony that declared you a man. So now, you're either, in a perfect world, you graduate from high school at 17 or 18, and then you go to college, and in a perfect world, you're there for 4 years or 6 years or however long it takes to get your degree. But at what phase in that do you actually become a man? Or if you don't go to college at all, is it I graduated 18 and now I'm a man, but I'm hanging out with all these kids that, I'm saying kids, you're hanging out with all these other similar age folks that are your friends, they might be going to college or whatever. So there's some confusion that society has created, especially in America, of when do you actually become a man. And he describes that boys do very childish things to kind of prove their manhood in that kind of limbo period, including sex and fighting. What were you going to say?
Fighting.
Yeah, fighting is a big one. Drinking. Look how manly I am. I can drink all the time.
And getting trashed and look like an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. And all three of those things kind of go together.
Drugs.
Yep. But like I said, there was previously ceremonies in a lot of cultures that would declare boys into men.
Like a bar mitzvah.
But there was also like some tribes would send up a male to climb up a mountain and to fetch a eagle's feather from the top of the mountain.
That sounds crazy.
You haven't done that yet?
No, I guess I'm still a boy. Eagles are nasty.
He has a really good story that I'll share later of how he declared his own son. a man. I thought was pretty cool.
I mean, it sounds like it just depends how you define a man.
Yeah, and he's giving his 5 takes, but he's rooting all 5 takes from Scripture, and so I'll give you that. That scripture, which is from 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13. It's, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong, let all that you do be done in love. So let's break those down. So be watchful. That's about having a vision. Men shouldn't just be living for today. They should have a vision of their future that they're striving for in the day. Stand firm. That's talking about being comfortable with taking a minority position. So you don't have to have at all times the approval of everybody you're surrounding yourself with. Act like men. So notice that isn't act like a man. So that's a plural thing. Act like men. So men should not be a lone wolf. They should be team players, and they should have male friendships that will. There's something really spiritual about male friendship that will promote not just themselves but other men. Be strong is talking about shouldering the burden of being a provider and having a strong work ethic. And then the last one, let all that you do be done in love. That's talking about being a protector for yourself, for your family, for your kids, for other people. Jump in at any point. But the first one, men have a vision. So he talks about another line of scripture from Proverbs, where there is no vision, people perish. So I like this one where it's it's really talking about that you're not going to prosper by just living in the day to day.
So you're saying like have goals that you're trying to achieve? Yeah,
have goals. I mean, even outside of your own personal goals, have a vision for what your marriage should look like, or have a vision for how you want to raise your kids, and so forth. He says you should wake up each day and ask yourself, am I going to be a man today or am I going to be a boy today? And those kind of, you'll have a stronger definition after having read through and gone through this book.
It's 2020. Now you can wake up, decide if you want to be a boy or a girl, or a man or a woman.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. This is a great book for boys in general. I mean, a boy that's nowhere near being a man would have a good time reading this book and kind of setting some clarity. But it's also good for adult males, whatever those should be defined as. It's good for women that are raising boys. This isn't just for adult men, So, he had an interesting story about the founder of Guinness beer. So, I didn't write his name down. If you want to search for that,
it's Guinness, probably
Guinness.
It's shitty beer. That's what it is.
But apparently, nasty. I didn't know this. He created Guinness beer because it was actually out of a Christian or a religious kind of founding. He was looking at all of his Arthur Guinness. There we go. He was looking at all of his fellow Irishmen, and the only thing they were drinking was whiskey, hard liquor. And so he was like, all right, how can I help these guys to? He's like, there's no way that they're going to be able to stop drinking at all. That's a lost cause. But what if I can create something that's
doesn't get them obliterated?
Yeah, where they can still consume a bunch of some sort of alcohol, but not just be totally wrecked. So that was kind of his start. But he says when he started out, creating this brewery, he got a lot of heat of, why are you even trying to do this? And then, believe it or not, he gets this building for his brewery and signs a 9,000-year lease on it. And people are going, you're out of your mind. What are you talking about? 9,000 years? Well, it breaks down to today. They still have a lease, and they pay something like $65 a year for the lease.
I can't believe that Guinness has been around for almost 300 years.
Yeah, it's an old one.
1752.
They still got 8,700 years left.
They still got a while.
No wonder they stay in business. They have no overhead.
Pretty
They
much.
sell shitty beer.
Yeah. Oh, that beer's fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's like a milkshake almost.
I would rather drink Natty Ice.
Oh, definitely.
God.
But just imagine being one of the first to create a separate alcoholic beverage like that.
So Guinness was like the first beer.
I don't know if they were the first. They really don't go too deep into the history of Guinness, but they're showing like his roots of how he founded this particular brewery. I mean, that old, you'd have to think it's one of the oldest.
Oh, look.
Back then, didn't a lot of people drink beer because the water was so filthy too? I thought that was part of the reason they used to drink alcohol.
Oh, just the water in general was bad?
It
I
was
don't know.
all contaminated.
Nope, not even close. The first beer is a 3,900-year-old something.
Sumerian.
Sumerian.
Yeah. Huh.
They had a goddess of brewing.
Well, shit.
Hmm.
1040 is when they said, well, this is a different brewery. It's been around for a while. Guinness
Yeah.
wasn't nearly the first.
Okay. I wonder what the oldest like that's still selling today is. Oldest beer in sales or something. I don't know. Still in production. There we go.
That's that one from...
Yeah.
Ice hyping.
Yeah, this one was founded in 725.
I bet that tastes
Well, nobody's going to the bar and ordering that.
like,
So.
that tastes terrible, I guarantee.
Wyan Steffen. I'm going to the Hoffer House and ordering this.
I want to give the crown to Guinness.
We'll just call it Guinness.
Yeah. But Tome relays that, just having a vision is an incredibly difficult thing. And, God doesn't just open up doors for you just to walk through. And so it's difficult to have a sense of vision when you think you need to be going down this path and then you hit a door and you say, it's common to think like, well, this might not be the path that has been set up for me. There's nothing in the Bible that says that God is just going to open up the doors in your path, and that's the way that you're supposed to go.
Why do you think God challenges us? Like, why isn't it easy?
I would think, and I'm thinking and talking at the same time like I do a lot.
I mean, there's no real answer to that question.
Yeah, well, I mean, somebody that's better with their Bible studies could probably answer you. But I mean, I think it's because you have to endure some adversity in your life to learn other lessons that you wouldn't otherwise learn if you just had an easy route.
So, if there was never sin, would there still be adversity, or would we just live in paradise?
Well, he describes Adam and Eve as having adversity even before sin was introduced
That's
to the
true.
garden. So that's
I mean, they had the option to eat it or not.
right. Later on, we're going to speak about them directly because we'll be talking about work.
I kind of feel like adversity and sin are kind of the same. Because without adversity, would you really even...
Adversity.
Adversity? What did I say?
Adversary.
Did I really? Adversity? Then would you really... There be need for sin? Because usually sin comes mostly out of adversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of... I would like to have, at some point, a podcast just of all the lines that people commonly say that are scripture, quote unquote, that actually aren't. What was the one that you and I were talking about a while ago, Travis?
I know one, but it's gross.
Say it.
I don't know how exactly it goes, but it goes better in the belly of a whore than...
Oh, yeah. Then on the
On the
somebody's floor.
That's Ron White's joke,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a Ron White joke.
I've heard people try to say it was in the Bible. I'm like,
Ron
no
White.
way.
Ron White goes, "Yep, can't disagree with that one."
See, but I think that's the problem. Like, it's so diluted nowadays. We don't know what really came from God, what came from man.
Well, I asked
we're
Dallas this the other day. The disciples and stuff. How do you know every one of them were actual disciples, and they weren't just crazy people? Because like if a guy came to you today and was like, "Yeah, I just wrote this book that needs to go in the Bible," you'd be like, "That guy needs locked up."
Yeah. We're just so far removed from it nowadays.
Yeah.
Dang it, I'm trying to remember the one that you and I were talking about. Oh, God does not give you more than you can handle.
Oh, yeah.
You will not find that anywhere in the Bible.
We're just assuming that.
Yeah. God absolutely gives you more than you can handle. Otherwise, why would you need him? That was probably one of the best sermons that I've ever listened to. Because you go, oh, holy shit. That makes total sense.
I think nowadays with a lot of people, God has turned into a genie. Like people don't ask for peace and to understand. They ask for things.
Yeah.
Like they want things granted to them.
Yeah.
They don't sit and ask for peace to get them through this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll ask for something and put no effort into doing it themselves either.
Right. Well, and Tome's book describes as God is recognizing that. Like, in the Bible days, sacrifice was, a really important thing. He's saying in today's age, nobody's going to go to the top of a mountain and sacrifice a goat. But
why not?
Why not? But we should be willing to, sacrifice our time to, help other people and to really rely and trust in him that, that he'll answer our prayers, kind of thing. So, like, everything from the Bible shouldn't be taken as this is how you're supposed to, just like that example, you're not supposed to do exactly that. But some of that, the roots of those things should be carried on today. Times change.
Yeah, don't take it so literal.
Right.
Like the stories in the Bible, my opinion, because I don't know, nobody knows what they really meant. But they're there for you to learn something. They weren't documenting what really happened. They're stories for you to learn and how to live your life.
Right. So, did you realize that the term adolescence wasn't even around until the late 1800s? So that was just kind of a construct that we've made. Like, it's before that, apparently it had just went from you're a boy to you're a man. So late 1800s come around, now all of a sudden there's this extra phase where you get to be an idiot and a man at the same time.
That's basically where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to tell anybody, maybe he is, that, hey, you're 45 years old, you don't follow any of these 5 marks, you're not a man. I think he's probably a more polite way of putting it is that you're exhibiting boyish behavior in your manhood kind of thing.
Now, where did he get these 5 marks? Is it pulled straight from the Bible? Is it something he came up with?
It was from that scripture that I read.
Okay.
Yeah. Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. Let all that you do be done in love.
Okay.
So those 5. So we really need a new way to declare our boys men, and we're all either fathers of boys or I'm about to have my own. So I think that's particularly why this book had an effect on me, because I have my little one on the way.
I think I'm going to go with the old school. When you can kick my ass, you're a man.
Well, I'm going to read this paragraph from when he declared his son Jake a man, which I thought was really cool. He says, I did this with my son. I had a campfire, and I invited 4 guys around, and we brought him to the campfire, and I said, Jake, I've gathered these men, representing men from all cultures and all time periods. We're here tonight to bring you into the fellowship of men. I had each guy go through and tell him things that they've seen in him and give him a memento. When it came to me, I went through all 5 marks I outlined in this book. Here's what I have for you. I've seen you do this mark. and then I gave him a Navy SEAL combat knife, put my hands on him, looked him in the eye, and I said, I declare you're a man. You're a man. I prayed for him, and it was the first time, or ever since, I've seen him weep. It hit him in a significant and profound way.
Then he's not a man.
Yeah.
He cried.
He went all bitch.
Wow, way to kill that.
Just kidding.
Jeez.
How old was his son?
He doesn't say, and I think he does that intentionally. Because he's waiting till he sees the marks, whether he's 13 or whether he's 25.
I'm a little concerned what age this kid is getting a Navy SEAL knife at.
Well, he apparently this isn't the first one that he's gotten. Like, he's trusting in him with a bunch of like kind of weapons like that. And he talks about that in the being in the minority section of his book, where, you know, people gave him a bunch of shit for giving his son, who was probably pretty young at the time, some like, you know, sharp weapons and stuff that he could do some damage with. He says my son never stabbed anybody.
Yet.
What are you thinking?
I mean, I get it, but that would be like the weirdest thing for me. Like, my dad take me in the woods with 4 dudes, and
It's a little
You
cult. I'm
think?
not going to lie. It's a little culty.
I think it'd be cool.
I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I would just feel super awkward.
Yeah, could you imagine me taking Ashton out in the woods with 4 other guys and like around a fire, give him a knife? Like, I think he would just cry out of being scared.
Well, he's 8 years old right now.
He's time to be a man. Who's to say?
How old is Maddox?
9.
Okay. So still got a little while.
He thinks he's a man.
Jax thinks he's a man. He's 4.
You guys are thinking from this at your age right now, though. Like, you don't remember how, like, just confusing that time period was when you were, like, 16, 17 years old?
Yeah, I thought I was a man, for sure. I told people I was a man. Wasn't close.
Right. You know, I think it would be profound. And I just feel like the more, like, real conversations that we have amongst each other with our kids, the better. You know?
Oh, yeah. I think it would help you in that confusing time.
Yeah.
And it might prevent you from doing all the silly things that you talked about earlier.
Right. Yeah. So the next chapter was about men taking a minority position. He talks about how we do not like stretch ourselves physically anymore, and like tribes in the past used to go on these super long campaigns, David Goggins style campaigns, where they would do the equivalent of 2 marathons per day in these long campaigns, and they were basically sending boy-aged males out to do these, and then when they get back, I mean, there's no question of whether they're a boy or a man within the tribe.
So were they going on like a hunt, or were they just running?
No, they described them as campaigns. I don't know if you can look up what that actually means. Well, it's probably a hunt, I would guess, but I don't really
I didn't know if they were just running to prove that they were...
No, I don't think they're running. I think there's some
gotcha.
sort of... I think there's some sort of route in it.
That makes more sense.
I mean, they could be...
But what does that have to do with taking a minority?
He had it in this chapter, so I wanted to get it out.
Oh.
He had a scripture on gates, which I don't remember what that is. Let me find it.
On gates?
Where's that at? Okay. One time, Jesus said, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only few find it." So, I mean, that's kind of like taking the high road or taking the road less traveled, I guess.
That makes sense.
Yeah. There was another one that I just missed too. On the next page. Yeah, this was actually a Mark Twain quote. "Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. Standing alone in a manner of conscience and conviction is a bygone attitude. I'm trying to think of a time where I've been in the clear minority on things.
Yeah, I know I have been, but I can't think of like one in particular.
I mean, I guess coming on a podcast and screaming my allegiance for Andrew Yang is a clear minority.
Yeah, definitely minority.
Only a 1% of even Democrats were really following him.
We're Bearcat fans. It's definitely a minority.
Am I considered a minority? I don't watch any sports
I would say
at all.
Yeah,
I don't sport. Well, does like powerlifting competitions and stuff count?
That's a minority, sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's a sport too.
Yeah,
though.
then, never mind.
Well,
You just are into different sports.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on coming up with an example of something that I've really stood for like that. But anyway, he describes. What are you gonna say?
I
Something?
feel like there's times though that men will get like in the minority and won't change their mind just to be stubborn and hard-headed,
That's true.
or the majority. Either way, too. The
That's
other side,
everything
too.
nowadays.
Yeah,
Like, you can't be proven wrong now. Like, even if you're proven wrong, you'll come up with a reason why you're not really wrong. You
Yeah.
stick to your guns. And a perfect
Right.
example is politics. Like, if
Yeah,
you're
oh,
a
yeah,
Republican,
absolutely.
you're Republican for life. Like,
Yeah.
you get everything Democrats do is wrong. If something happened, that's a Democrat move. That was wrong.
Yeah, you should be able to take in new information as it comes and evaluate your decision making at all times.
and I mean, I think that behavior is kind of opposite of what that's saying, but like just to take a stand for a party or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So he describes that how in biblical times, prophets gave messages that nobody wanted to hear, and they were taking a minority position. And back then, they were faced with, a chance of being stoned to death or however
Crucified.
crucified. Yeah,
I mean, Jesus himself was a minority.
right. True. Oh, look up August Landmesser. You guys have probably seen this as soon as the image comes up. Yeah. Yeah, go to images real quick.
This is a time traveler.
No.
Oh yeah, I know what this
Check out
is.
what everybody's doing. Everybody in this picture
yeah, I've seen
is saluting Hitler, except for this guy. And
the balls on that guy.
exactly. Yeah, he's not giving in to the Socialist Party. So he's the only one in this crowd that is not saluting. And in the book, he says that apparently he gets drafted into the German army, but nobody knows really what happens to him after that. So
He was clearly killed,
probably,
but good for him.
yeah. I mean, how many people were you think in that picture? Probably a few hundred in that picture alone, and it's cropped. There's way more. He's the only one there, not saluting.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, it is.
What if he was just like a hipster type of his time, and he just didn't want to do it because everyone else was?
He was like a contrarian.
Yeah. He just wanted to be different and edgy.
Have you seen the Family Guy episode where Brian is the contrarian and he's switched over? You know how he's typically an atheist,
Yeah.
left wing. He gets hooked up with Rush Limbaugh, and he's all of a sudden following all of Rush Limbaugh's policies, and he's reading through his book. Going, yeah, this is the way. And Lois at the end calls him out. He's like, you know what? You're nothing but a contrarian. Like, whoever's on top, whoever's in power, you want to be on the opposite side.
I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
I wonder what the draw of that is. I guess just to be different.
Try to be the smartest guy in the room kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. But you're just, as soon as it flips into your favor, you're probably going to flip yourself back to.
That's like people that say they don't like Metallica. You're just lying.
A better example is Nickelback.
Yeah.
That's true.
Most people will tell you they don't like Nickelback. How the fuck they get so popular if nobody likes them?
Yeah.
You're still singing their songs in there.
Right.
Our first dance at our wedding was a Nickelback song.
We went to a Nickelback concert
My
in high
first
school.
concert was Nickelback.
Easy. I wouldn't give that information.
Whatever, man. That was before it was uncool to be a Nickelback
Hey,
fan.
Nickelback's a good band. Like
Yeah.
they none of their songs are bad. I mean, they're not like the greatest songs ever written.
They're just kind of poppy and
Yeah.
catchy.
Yeah.
Like I never
I mean-
sit around and think, man, I want to hear some Nickelback right
Yeah.
now. But when I hear it, I don't change it.
Yeah, I don't go out of my way to hate them like some people do.
Yeah.
Well, Creed was like that too. The band Creed.
I liked Creed too.
Well, everybody started hating them all of a sudden for no reason.
Yeah, as soon as they described that they were kind of, they were Christians, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to be kind of stupid not to realize they were a Christian band, though.
Yeah.
My Sacrifice kind of gives that away.
True.
Which is, I jam to that song when that comes on. That's a good song.
Yeah.
I like all Creed.
Yeah.
We're losing viewership rapidly right now.
Ooh, shit, somebody's right now blasting My Sacrifice. Like, you know what? I want to hear that. No, that's going to be our outro today. My Sacrifice by Creed.
So, chapter 3, men are team players. This was an interesting one. I did not see this one coming. Men run in packs, boys are lone wolves. So, he says 33% of children are living in a home without their biological father.
What was that percentage?
33%.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. So there was a quote on 54 with some stats somewhere.
So right off the bat, even with the title of this chapter, it's completely like opposite of what we're taught. Like we're taught like men are supposed to be able to do things on their own.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. Man, just slam it. He says, if there is one spiritual discipline I can immediately give to you, what do you think I would want it to be? Some might say reading the Bible. Wrong. Some might say prayer. Wrong again. Some might say going to church. Still wrong. Though you are always welcome at Crossroads. Cynics might say give more money away. Yet wrong again. If there was one discipline I could impart to every male, it would be this: choosing the right friends and using them wisely. I'll keep going. Male friendship is a spiritual discipline, and it needs to be elevated. I will take some who knows how to conduct a manly friendship over someone who is good at nearly any other skill. If you know how to maintain strong, godly friendships, you will make fewer mistakes in your life, and you will recover from those mistakes much more quickly. Didn't see that coming.
100% agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. He describes a lot about how, like, male bonding typically doesn't come from just, sitting over dinner or not doing something. It generally always comes from, it's rooted in some sort of activity. I mean, creating a podcast, going golfing,
Yeah. Sports and
Right. Yeah. Inversely,
Sunday school.
yeah. Inversely, let me give you this statistic. Males commit suicide at almost 4 times the rate of females and represent almost 80% of all suicides. A leading theory of why this is the case is that female adolescents are encouraged to feel comfortable being in relationships and leaning into other females, but society tells young males that they need to be strong and independent and man up and be your own man.
Bottle up your emotions.
Yep. They are not supposed to need anyone else in their life. It's weak to need others. The isolation eventually causes them to crash, and when they do, there is nowhere to turn.
100% agree. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're taught.
Yeah.
Well, not even like directly taught. That's just how we think the world works.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes you never see that, you know, behavior of like a man leaning on another man in a time of need. Like it's hard to ever see that, you know, as a kid, you know, to see your father do that or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever seen your father hug another man?
Besides, like a parent.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Like just a friend.
Yeah. Not often.
But see, the times where we need that male companionship and we need to go to another man over problems we're having, we kind of block our kids from to begin with because it's issues we don't want them to know about or deal with.
I feel like I even have a hard time, like, emotionally, like, with my own father. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, it would just be awkward. I know we've got emotional getting drunk by a campfire before, but, like, as far as just sitting here sober talking to him about stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Like calling them and telling them about your day type stuff. Yeah,
that would be
I get
awkward.
That. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You probably don't want to hear the shit anyway.
Yeah.
I give my dad credit. I lean to him a lot. You know, I don't know that I've seen him lean on somebody else. And, you know, probably a son to father relationship is different than what he's talking about here as, you know, your peers. But he makes the point that, you know, look, Jesus had 12 disciples, not like one or two. Like 12 is a big number.
He had a gang of motherfuckers.
Yeah. He's like, no, it kind of, you know, turned out bad for for one of them, and then all of them at the end. But
he picked the one bad apple.
Yeah. But still, there's a point to be made that he had a very close following, and even within the 12, he had like a really close following with, I think, Mark and Peter and John. I think that were, you know, like his go-to kind of guys that they
his boys.
Yeah, his boys. Yep. So he says, men are selfless friends, boys are selfish isolationists.
Say that again.
Men are selfish friends, boys are selfish isolationists. So he has like a breakdown of 5 different attributes that he talks about that of why men should basically be team players. So like I said earlier, male friendships are active. So you're not going to get anywhere just sitting around or having a beer or whatever. Like, you know, strong male friendships are founded in some sort of activity. You know, we've all gotten closer just from doing this thing.
Yeah.
I feel like,
yeah.
You know, I mean, I totally rely on you to do audio and video and, you know, all of our posting and stuff. I absolutely totally rely on you. And, you know, so, you know, and other weeks, like, you know, I totally rely on you to be coming up with a topic and, you know, knowing your shit before you come in here. Like, that's, you like, you know, this is like put trust in each other kind of thing.
We are going to get deep.
And I told you. Friendships have authority. I can't remember. Oh, he says, you know, like basically that we should all be answering to the same code. That's probably a level that we maybe aren't at yet. I'm not sure.
Answering to the same code as far as what?
Yeah.
I didn't write enough notes down.
Like a moral code?
Yeah, I think so. Like we all have like our, like I don't know. I need to find that section.
Because if it's talking more of like a moral code, if we're talking about us three in general, I feel like we basically have the same. I mean, we have differences on certain topics, of course, but as far as like fathers, husband goes, and where we want our kids to be.
Okay, I'm just going to read the first paragraph from this book that describes it. Some people don't want to be under any authority but their own. Our culture often celebrates lone wolves. We think they are dark and mysterious, and they become the stuff of legend. The truth about lone wolves, however, is the same in nature as it is with people. Lone wolves are losers. In the wild, lone wolves are outcasts. They don't eat. They don't have the support of the pack to help them hunt and survive. They struggle and they die early and alone. So,
It's fucking depressing.
so I'm trying to wrap my brain around what he's actually defining authority as.
I'm confused on this one.
Sounds like give and take. Like,
I think he's saying like they should like the friendship itself should have like some power to it, rather than if you were just on your own, like you're losing a sense of like that authority, I guess. Let's go to the next one.
yeah, that's confusing.
The next one I don't know if I want to touch on. They should male friendships are affectionate.
Oh, God.
Now wait.
Yeah, that's gonna get weird.
Let's skip right through that.
That's that's what we've been talking about.
Like what does he mean by affection? How deep does he go into this? Like
Kissing.
Jonathan and David were affectionate with one another. Again, 1 Samuel says, David rose from beside the stone heap and fell on his face to the ground and bowed 3 times. And they kissed one another and wept with one another.
all right, let's.
David weeping the most. He said, hang on, he says, this is weird behavior in our culture. Something like this is said to be unmanly. Men are supposed to cry or show affection to one another. Yet here in the Bible is a story about one of the manliest men in recorded history openly weeping and showing affection to a friend.
Like
I'm cool with the
I'm
weep.
good with the weep and some of the affection, but he completely skips over that kiss.
I think this is one of those times where he's saying don't take the Bible so damn literally. He's not telling you to kiss your friends.
I'm not kissing my friends.
I can't believe that's in the Bible. Oh, that got weird.
Apparently there was debate like in that particular instance of whether those guys are gay or not. And there was like is the Bible actually saying it's okay to be gay?
I guarantee they use that.
Yeah. The fourth one is
There you go. Fourth one.
Yeah, the fourth one is accountability. That one makes a lot of sense. I mean, like just keeping each other in check. Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's good for yourself and for your friend.
And if you're a lone wolf, you're never going to get checked.
Do you remember that day on the golf course?
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
What happened? Tell me what happened.
Told me I was fat.
Damn.
That's not what happened. What happened? Come on.
What, about going to the gym?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Tell the
just
story.
I don't remember the story. We were
Okay,
probably
we were-
hammered.
No, we weren't. Come on. All right, we were golfing, and Brad was talking something about wants to get in shape one day, la da da. I'm like, well, what are you doing about it? And he's like, nothing, drinking. I'm like, tomorrow we're going to the gym. And
I said no because I didn't do Mondays.
Yeah, he's just giving me this look like, what are you talking about? We ain't going to the fucking gym. I was like, I'm going to sign up at Snap Fitness. I didn't even go there. I was like, I'm going to sign up there, and Monday we are going. We are golfing on Sunday.
Yeah.
I was like, we'll just show up and we're going to go. That's going to be our thing from now on.
And I hated it at first.
That's how we got started golfing. Is I called him out on the golf course about his bullshit, and we started going.
And I
at the
needed
same
it,
time,
too.
he needed it, and I needed it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't going either. I mean, I was going to Planet Fitness a little bit at the time, but nowhere near as dedicated as I am now.
Yeah, but you're not going to get dedicated to Planet Fitness because Planet Fitness is the most bullshit fucking gym in the world. When you have a pizza day at a gym, go fuck yourself, all right? And this is how I
Better
feel.
than not going at all.
Well, no, this is how I feel. If everything is a fucking Smith machine, you're not at a gym. You're at an assisted living community type fucking old home thing. You fuck that.
But you're powerlifting though, man.
That's why I don't like Planet Fitness. I have literally seen that lunk alarm go off on somebody.
That seems more dangerous.
Yeah, no, because they're all about like no discriminating type shit. But you're going to discriminate against them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have went into Planet Fitness before with the gallon jug of water. They wouldn't let me bring it in.
You're intimidating people, man.
I'm 5'6", 160 pounds. Who the fuck am I intimidating?
No, I get what you're saying. We're straying from our point here, though.
Fuck Planet Fitness. Go ahead.
Hold your friends accountable. And 5 is affirmation, which I do not remember what that was about.
Affirming.
Thanks.
Do I go on a rant about something every episode?
Accountability. I'm trying to find where to... Oh, this is an affirmation. I'll just read the first paragraph again. Encouragement is when you put courage into somebody. That's literally what the word means. Boys can't encourage because they always feel some kind of sick competition that fears making someone else stronger. Instead, boys just mock and make fun of each other. There's nothing wrong with having fun with one another. I consider it a spiritual gift of mine. But the base of your relationship must be affirmation. The core of your interaction has to say, I'm thankful that you're in my life and I want to show you. So, I mean, okay, that makes sense now.
I don't even think that's a man thing. I think that's a people issue. Like a lot of people have issues with encouraging other people. Or,
yeah. A little compliment to somebody can go a long fucking way, man.
Just rooting for somebody.
Yeah.
Like just because they're doing better than you, why do you want them to fail?
Yeah. I mean, I'm more interested to hear how many pounds he's down each week than I am to see my own. Like, by the way, my boy's down since he's been recording 14 pounds now. Hell yeah. And he didn't even start recording until, what, 3 weeks? Yeah, 3 weeks into our, lifting again. So he's probably, number's probably close to 20.
So you're looking at like 5.5, 6 pounds a week.
Yeah, close
That's
to.
good, dude.
Yeah, he's dropping big numbers very quickly.
See, that's like losing weight's a lot harder than what I'm trying to do. So that's good on you, man.
Just starve yourself if you want to lose weight.
Just don't eat.
So he wraps up this chapter by hearkening back to the beginning and reminding you, lone wolves are losers. Don't be a lone wolf. Travel in a pack.
It's weird to hear a pastor call someone a loser.
Chapter 4 was about work. Men work, boys just want to play. This one made me laugh because we literally have this book in our list. Boys love books with titles like The 4-Hour Work Week.
I had nothing to do with picking that book.
Yeah, we had it in there. We still haven't read it. Have you read it?
Mm-mm. The 4-hour work week?
4-day work week, probably.
No, The 4-Hour Work Week.
4-hour
Yeah,
work week?
Look up
4 hours a week.
Look up that book. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look up that book real quick. I want to make sure that that's what it's called.
So how does anything get done?
We're going to go down a rabbit hole again.
Shit.
Now I want to do this book.
Is it this Tim Ferriss or whatever?
Oh, is it a Tim Ferriss book? Just click on it. 4-Hour Work Week. That might have to be a podcast.
Yeah,
episode.
I want to do that now.
Look at this fucking guy.
No, Tim Ferriss is a good dude.
He looks like a douche.
Hold on now. What does this even say? Come on, pop up. If you could 10 times your per hour output, how would your life and business change?
You guys are about to be so mad at me.
Oh, God.
Here we go.
We're going to get to it in a second, but
If you try to kiss me,
I might, man. Kiss you right in your mouth.
we might fight. You can call me a boy all you want.
So, but we were talking earlier about how when God made Adam and Eve on the 6th day, he had not yet introduced sin into their world. Yet they were still being tasked with creating all of mankind. So even if sin was completely gone from our world, there would still need to be work. That's kind of what he's getting at. And work makes you, this is his point, not mine, work makes you more like God. Even God worked on Saturday. All right, so now is when you guys are going to get mad at me.
Let's hear it.
I'll read it, and you guys can tell me where it relates. He says, I saw an article recently about how algorithms in robotics are at some point in the near future going to lessen the amount of work we have to do. I don't know if it's 20 years from now or 50, but looking at the trend line, at some point, a crazy high percentage of us are not going to have a job. There are obviously massive economic realities to this, including taxation, considering how people will support themselves, etc. But my first thought was, wow, that would really wreak spiritual havoc on us if that happened. When we get to a place where people only sense that they are adding value by consuming and not by producing, it would be disastrous to the spiritual health and vitality of our culture. Most people don't think this way because we live in a culture that devalues work. What does that relate to? All roads lead back to Andrew Yang, Travis.
Oh, fuck.
I knew where it was going the minute I heard automation.
Yeah. Algorithms.
Yang gang.
Yang gang.
I'm a no president gang. I'm tired of having a president. We need like a.
I like Joe Rogan's idea of having a council.
That's what I was about to say. We need just like wise men, and we vote in if we think they're wise, not just one person. And Congress and all them don't count.
But councils,
those aren't wise men.
Councils suck too. I mean, like
I know, but
Cincinnati City Council was a fucking joke.
Well, that's Cincinnati. You want me to go back to Cincinnati? You want me to rant about something else?
Pick your city.
But
one term limit everywhere.
Yeah.
Get rid of career politicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing too. But I'm just saying we've done the president since America's been America, and nothing's been solved. Like, let's try a different route.
But his point he's making here is that work is a spiritual aspect of men in particular. And when...
I can kind of see that.
Yeah. I mean, he paints this picture of like, you know, we shouldn't be just working so that we get to retirement and then we stop working at all. Like, that's a lose-lose situation because you're going to lose that, like, production value of yourself.
Well, a lot of people die because when they quit working, they don't do anything. They end up dying very quickly because they have nothing to drive for, to get up for.
Let me give you some more stats.
But work does suck.
I think you need to define the thing that you're working towards that you love. I mean, all of us, not just you. All of us do. And I think that's the next level of work that Andrew Yang has been pushing. Like, if we can get rid of having to work at this shit job or whatever, just so that we can provide for our family, and instead our spiritual work can go towards something that we really care about, that's a better world for people.
Yeah.
You know, he's not telling people to stop working. So, and Tome isn't either. But we do have to think about how work is going to function in our society very, very soon.
I don't even know what I would do if I had every day off. If I didn't have to work.
If it wasn't like required for your well-being.
I would probably revert back to being a boy and playing all the time.
That's kind of the fear. I mean, for most people. Yeah.
I mean, you're just hanging out.
Yeah. It would probably make more work that you like to do available, though, because those people aren't doing it anymore.
That's true. And you got all the time in the world to do it.
He says, recently a Gallup organization ran a massive study to discover how many people actually work while at work. They found that 32% of people at work are actively engaged, 51% are not engaged, and 17% are actively disengaged. This means that almost 70% of people are checked out at work. They are intentionally abandoning their call to work. This is a sign of our waning work ethic and disengagement from God. This is a boyish behavior.
Well, I think a lot of that is because people are at a job that they don't like, or they're not doing anything that they enjoy or want to do.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure burnout is, tied to it and all that stuff, but we're kind of talking about 3 different topics at once here, but what was the other one? Oh, retirement stats. According to a recent study, people who retire at age 55 and live to be at least age 65 have a 37% chance of dying sooner than people who retire at age 65. Also, people who retire at 55 are 89% more likely to die before age 65 than those who are still working. If I read this correctly, if you want to die 10 years earlier, just retire 10 years earlier. We are not wired to disconnect from work.
So it just work forever.
So just work.
I think I would still rather retire at 55.
Yeah.
And go at 65?
Yeah, because 10 years after you're 65 years old, you're fucking more broken than you were at 55. 55, at least you can enjoy it a little bit more.
That's true.
So so you're 54, and next year you're going to retire.
Yep.
And next year you retire. What's your day-to-day look like?
My day-to-day is travel.
Okay.
That's what we want to do when we retire.
Just nonstop?
Nonstop. See the United States, and then start with other countries after that.
Yeah, I wonder if he ties like exploring and like just being active into like work.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't know.
kind of the same thing.
If we could contact him, it'd be cool to have that discussion with him. Like, what are the parameters of work, I guess? Because yeah, that would make sense. I would have to have some sort of thing, whether it's woodworking or
Yeah, I couldn't just sit around like and do nothing. There's no way.
Watching soap operas and Oprah.
yeah. You just sit there and die if you're just sitting there watching TV all day or waiting for 8:30 bingo or whatever the fuck. I mean,
Whatever old people do nowadays.
yeah.
Most of them send me Facebook game invites.
Oh, God.
Yes. Yeah. Retired people out there, I'm not calling you lazy. I'm just saying, keep your mind, keep your body active. The third point he makes are that men produce and boys consume. And he makes the point that, even Jesus was a carpenter. So, but his work, kind of like to our point about having work in a meaningful way, people don't remember Jesus because he was a badass cabinet maker. His work was, much more meaningful than that.
Cabinet made by Jesus.
Imagine how much that should be worth. And so the last of the 5 marks are that men are protectors, and he breaks this down into 5 subcategories too. So the first one is obvious, is a physical protection, but that should be and is very, very, very rare.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you ever had to like actually physically posture,
Fight a bear off or something.
Yeah, to defend your wife or your kids or whatever. There's a time when that's needed, but it's very rare.
Basically, just be capable of it. Be capable to protect them.
Yeah, have the spine to even bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the second one is sexually, and this one definitely ties to boys. I don't think we want to go into our history of our
I didn't see that
our
coming.
sexuality, but he's describing that you should protect women, especially in those raging hormone years of their future.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying now.
yeah.
I was
I
totally
gotta read
lost.
this story of David. If I can find it. So the same David that killed Goliath, right, and later became the king of Israel. Where is this at? Page 88 somewhere. Okay, he says, back to David. He's got problems, and one of them is in the sexual area. Later in life, he's up on his roof while the rest of the army is away protecting the nation of Israel. This is the problem. He's a warrior. He should be with his soldiers protecting and working, but he decides to opt out of that. David is acting like a boy. While they're all putting in the hours and protecting the nation, he has some idle time as he looks down on his neighbor's roof. He notices an attractive woman bathing on a rooftop, and he preys on her, P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y, and woos her to his home. He uses his power to seduce her and has sex with her, has a child with her, and then tries to cover it up by killing her husband, who is his loyal friend. His name is Uriah. He is one of David's mighty men. David basically kills a brother, his friend, to cover up his own mistakes. In a brief period of weakness, David backslides into boyhood. This is what boys do. They are predators. Fascinating stuff, though, right? What do you think? Just say it.
I don't know. Kind of boggled by it.
Yeah.
So, it's like it's going against your instinct. You're not supposed to seek out females.
No, I mean, he's not saying to not, like...
But
he's saying to not take advantage.
Oh,
Yeah, because
okay.
it said he used his powers to
Right.
basically
Yeah.
seduce this woman, and
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, who was also had a husband, you know.
that'd be like you basically like you're working on your roof and you see your neighbor sunbathing, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna fuck her.
Yeah.
And then, like it's creepy. It's
Yeah,
creepy.
I got you.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
I misunderstood what you were saying.
The third one is intellectually. So he says, men share knowledge, boys shun knowledge. I feel like we do a pretty good job of sharing what little knowledge we have learned.
You know,
But I think the fact that we seek out knowledge,
Yeah.
like I don't get people that are just okay with knowing what they learned in school and that's it.
and
Like,
refusing everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
you just stick by what you learned in those years and that's
Or
it.
not even what they learned, just what opinions they've developed on their own without any base. So, next one's pretty obvious. Financially.
Mm-hmm.
If I can find that, sorry. But yeah, he's basically describing he's like, men are wired differently than women to be able to provide and, to work and this sort of thing. Not saying that women can. He's just saying that
It's just instinctual.
yeah. It's a primal and spiritual asset of men. And then the last one is spiritually. Where is that from? 1 Peter. He says, let's go back to the 1 Peter verse from before. It says, likewise, husbands, love your wives, so that your prayers may not be hindered. Our spiritual strength is in part tied to how we're protecting our wives. There's a spiritual link and a vibrancy in our prayer life that's tied with the rest of our life. There's a spiritual passion that's dictated in part by how we're handling the area of protection. I found that really fascinating. Like, there's biblical reference that God answered men's prayers with partially based on your relationship with your wife. Pretty fascinating, though, right? And so those are basically the five marks that he's looking at. But how he ends this book is a chapter called "Be a Water Carrier," and so I'll describe what he's talking about here. So he's talking about the story of Elijah, who's a prophet, and he's kind of debating with this other group that believes in Baal, who is a false god. And Elijah has his group, and this Baal group are together, and they're basically trying to decide once and for all who is the real God, basically. So what he describes here, he says, Elijah the prophet, who was called the troubler of Israel, who was taking the minority position, like we talked about earlier, went up to Ahab, who was the head of the Baal group, and he said, let's have a challenge. Let's see whose God is the real God. Let's see if it's Baal or if it's the real God as we know him to be. They said, okay, and the prophets of Baal took a bull to the top of Mount Carmel. They took a bull and they cut it up and they put it on the altar and they started praying. Elijah had said, the God who answers the prayer will know that is the real God. The prophets of Baal go first. They're praying, they're chanting, nothing is happening. They're circling around the altar, they're starting getting louder and louder, and they're trying to get their God's attention. They start ripping off their clothes. They actually start cutting themselves to try to get their God's attention. Nothing happens. Then Elijah steps up, and he says, bring this other bull. And they cut it up, and they put it on the wood of the altar, and then he says, bring me some water. And they bring a big barrel of water, and they pour it all over the altar and the bull. He says, bring me some more water. And they bring him another barrel, and they pour that on the bull. And he calls for another round of water and pours it all over the pieces of the bull. The water flows down off the stones, and it fills up the trench that surrounds the altar, and then breaks over the banks of the trench, meant to catch the blood of the bull, basically. Then Elijah says, with all calmness, God, let everyone know today who is the real God. And no sooner does he get done praying that prayer when fire comes down from the heavens and burns up the bull, burns up the wood, burns up the stones, and evaporates and licks up the water. But what's incredibly puzzling about that story is that they're pouring all of this water onto this sacrifice, right? They're at the top of a mountain. There is no water to be had. And they're in Mount Carmel, and they said, some scholars are saying, well, they must have gone clear to the Mediterranean Sea to get this water. But the trip to the Mediterranean Sea is a full day's trip away. So there's no way they were all just standing around in the ceremony and waited for somebody to walk all the way to the Mediterranean Sea and back, let alone do it 3 times. So they're saying, how did they get this water? Just out of nowhere. They couldn't have gone to a nearby creek or something like that. There's none around. He says he's been there. And where that's at is basically in the middle of the desert. There's no water to be had. And there's water shortages there all the time. So they said the bigger miracle in that story is not that the fire comes down from the heavens. Is where the fuck does water come from? And he says he doesn't realize this until he was actually on the site, and they were, he's like actually there, and he's, the guides or whatever are explaining. That's the bigger part of the story, is from the people that were there. Where did this water come from? So in the middle of this water shortage, all of the people that were in, I forget my guy's name. Who did I say? Elijah. All the people that were in Elijah's group brought their own water from home. And why that's a big deal is because they're sacrificing their own water in the middle of a drought. And they have so much faith in God that they brought it to pour over top of this altar. Not just a little bit, but pretty much all that they had. And to put that kind of faith that their God would show himself is, a really powerful story.
Yeah.
So be a water carrier. Put your faith in your God.
It's not what I was getting out of that story when you were telling it.
Yeah. Well, it took until the very end for me to realize what he was talking about too. But a powerful one. Brian Tome, thanks for writing this book. This had a big impact on me. I hope it did on you guys too.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. So we'll end on that. Go learn something this week, guys.